Fair use copyright. Fair use copyright. You're gonna hear some video playing in the background. Fair use copyright. I'm sitting here listening to the video for educational purposes. I remember that, Sister Celeste. Sitting there listening to the video one about one of the brothers come from the Mama Land. And a lot of them videos is founded on scriptures. It's scripturally based, and I'm loving it because it brings us into the light of life. It brings us into under God's protection. It brings us into his rest. This is what he means by enter into his rest. I love that. I follow Sister Celestial too. This other sister, I seen her before. I done checked her out before. She be on point. She know who we are. And for some reason, the Gentiles be going crazy. They go crazy when they hear black people say, we're the Israelites. Even some black people. I ain't just talking about Gentiles. You got some black. Oh, no, we know. We the Christians. And who? I'm like, no, you're not. You can't be a Christian if you're a Hebrew. You got to choose. The Bible is talking about Hebrews and their Elohim, their God, which is Yahuwah. That's what it's talking about. It ain't talking about no religious groups, no, none of that. You have to enter his rest. You enter his rest through obedience to his word, his instruction. His word is law. It governs all things. Everything is based on the word. Everything in life. I don't care where you look. And yes, and we as a people, we have to come to grips with that. It is what it is. You see what's happening in the world. They showing you these systems. No, Trump ain't gonna save America. I don't give a shit how you categorize drinking. You know I drink wine, baby. Stop that. Ain't nothing wrong with a little wine. Stop listening to the religious people, y'all. Christ drunk wine. They call him a wine bible. No, you can have a little wine. I think that's in Proverbs. It tells you to give your brother a little wine, but don't become a drunkard, you know? Ain't nothing wrong with a little wine, a little drink to take him out of his misery, take the misery from him, you know? I'm sipping on some red. To take the misery from your brother or sister's mind. But don't become a drunkard. You dig? Ain't nothing wrong with a little drink here now and then. I gotta have me one. I just don't be doing Remy and all that no more. Ain't nothing wrong with that either. A drink is a drink, family. I hear a lot of them talking about, oh, you ain't supposed to drink and woo, woo. Like, y'all religious. Y'all too religious. Yeah, they be tweaking, Sister Celeste. They be tweaking on you, period, though. And they sick, because a lot of people are God's chosen people. They do not want to hear that. That's right. You can look these words up. That's right. That's another way to break forth, to come through with understanding, family. Some things you don't understand, look them words up in the Greek and in the Hebrew. They will explain to you. I'm not going to make up nothing based on God's word and lie to you to try and mislead you. Y'all forbid it. That's not what the word will have you to do. I believe in Yahuwah, Most High. You follow that word just like any word that you use. Words have power. Your parents tell you that. Be careful what you speak. There's the power of life and death in the tongue, right? So be careful what you speak. You don't think it's the same power operating in God's word? Well, the white people did. That's the white people Bible, and who? No, it ain't. It shows me I have of understanding. Are we even studying to really know, or are we just been heard? Because if you know, you know. The Bible is not no white man's book. It can be. Yes, they can come into the knowledge. Yes, they can follow the Most High. Yes, they can. You have to make a conscious effort, a conscious decision. You can't be in the world, one foot in the world, one foot like I have to give up a lot of things in my life as a result because I wasn't doing things the right way. It was based on what I felt the way it should have been, moving through the avenues that I was moving. A lot of things stopped, abruptly stopped. People look at me different because a lot of what I had wasn't there no more. Which shows you I ain't losing no sleep. A lot of them niggas want there, but none for what they can get what they wanted. As long as they can get what they want out you, and I'm cool with that. I ain't mad. That's on me. If I allow you to do that, but no, not today. I'm gonna run you down today the right way. Yeah, Jesus is black and so am I. Who got a problem with it? Yeah, Jesus is black. Who got a problem with it? Please let me help you understand. In Revelations, ooh, yeah, Revelations 1, verse 13. Hell like war. Oh, yeah. We're gonna lose the war. We ain't losing. We're gonna lose. It's written. God ain't gonna give you no lottery ticket. There's a lot of people reading AI, talking about AI interpreting things like y'all off. Y'all off. Black people react to a spiritual flu. I am a king. He finally admitted it. What did he admit, Willie D? Fair use copyright. I want to hear what Trump admitted. Let me hear those little. I hear you. I want to hear what he did. Your president. He told the truth. Intellect, very high IQ people. These are not just rocket and they're these are smart people. These are really smart people. And these are not jams and carpet. And some are very nice people. They turn violent. But you know what? If I didn't do what I did. They talk shit about you because black people, you follow them. And they know they full of shit. That's why they can speak, you know. And they talk shit about what you follow when what you following is what the shit they do. That's why I just tell people, no, I cut that shit off. I'm going straight to the Bible. Whatever the Bible says, that's what I conform to. That's what I'm moving to. I can care less what the next person's saying or doing. Put your life on what you believe and stand on it. And we'll see the end because my life showed on is on what I believe with this word to the light unto life or death. I ain't no killer, but don't push me. That totally threw them for a loop. If they had that bomb, at either time, 5 years ago or 7 months ago, if they had that bomb would have been used. And I didn't blame them. We've been bombing them since the 90s. I would blow your ass up too.
I'm not sure.
Leave me alone.
The Democrats have horrible policy. It's just incredible. But they stick together. It's the one thing they do. Their Supreme Court members stick together. Those appointed by a Democrat stick together.
Can you believe it, fam? Can you believe it? I can't believe it. He never gave the Democrats credit one time when he was in office.
Who
His
cares?
first term. Or one time all of last year for his second term. In fact, he's been
Why do y'all give any of them credit? Been shifted. But we following them, you'll never see the shift. They gonna tell you we're the greatest country. We produce everything. We don't produce shit. We don't produce shit. We use other people's things. You know what I'm saying? Fuck out of here.
Mary, have absolutely no idea. As of
No, they don't.
2024, global debt has surpassed $315 trillion. That is not a typo. $315 trillion.
And
in
dollar
the last
debt.
4 years alone, the United States printed more money than it had in its entire 240-year history. Meanwhile, central banks across the world, from China to Saudi Arabia to Russia, have been quietly, systematically, and aggressively buying gold at the fastest pace since 1967. Not paper gold, not future.
Real gold. China is using its money, the yuan, but they also have the Shanghai Gold Express in case you want to use gold.
There's contracts, physical gold, vaulted, secured, moved out of the dollar system entirely. This is not paranoia. This is not a fringe theory. This is a coordinated, measurable, historically verifiable signal. And every single time in recorded history that this exact signal has appeared, every single time, what followed was a fundamental, irreversible restructuring of who holds the world's wealth. The global wealth shift has started. It is not coming. It is not a warning. It has already begun. And the question is not whether it will happen. The question is whether you will be on the right side of it or whether you will be the last one standing when the music stops. Stay with me, because what I'm about to show you is not speculation. It is a pattern, a mechanism, a system that has repeated itself. Same point in that cycle that every generation before us ignored until it was too late. Let me show you how this works. Every major wealth transfer in history, and I mean every single one, follows the same four-stage system. It doesn't matter if we're talking about the Roman Empire, the Dutch trading empire, the British pound, or the Bretton Woods dollar system. The stages are identical. The timeline varies. The outcome does not. Stage one is always the foundation. This is where a dominant power establishes control, usually through military strength, technological superiority, or some form of financial innovation. They create a system. They set the rules. And because they set the rules, they benefit disproportionately from the game. Everyone else plays along because the system works at first. Trade expands. Living standards rise. Trust is established. Stage two is the expansion. The dominant power grows. Confidence becomes arrogance. The system that was built on discipline begins to stretch. Borrowing increases. The money supply expands. Currency is gradually debased. either through printing, coin clipping, or loosening monetary standards. The dominant power begins spending beyond its means, usually justified by war, security needs, or social programs. The economy still looks strong on the surface, but underneath, the cracks are forming. Stage 3 is the overextension and loss of control. This is where things start to unravel visibly. Debt becomes unmanageable. Inflation accelerates. The currency loses credibility on the global stage. Rising powers, those who were watching, accumulating, and preparing, begin to challenge the existing order. Geopolitical tensions rise, alliances shift, capital starts to migrate. The dominant power responds with force or financial engineering, but neither works for long. The system enters a feedback loop it cannot escape. Stage 4 is the inevitable outcome. The old order collapses or dramatically contracts. A new power, or a coalition of new powers, fills the vacuum. A new monetary system is established. Wealth is redistributed on a global scale. And those who understood the transition in advance, they don't just survive. They emerge on the other side with generational wealth. Those who didn't, they watch their savings, their pensions, their purchasing power evaporate. 4 stages identical every time. Let me prove it to you. Rome, 1st century AD, the greatest empire the world had ever seen. At its peak, Rome controlled 40% of the world's GDP. Its currency.
That's what I don't understand. When people be talking about they don't get the Bible. The Bible is talking about these Romans. It was the Romans who took over Jerusalem. Oh, the Bible ain't real. Because the people that's telling you the story all that happened to them people, you see it.
Trading nation in the Mediterranean from Britain to Persia, Gabul. Then came stage 2. Rome's military expansion required increasingly enormous funding. Legions needed to be paid. Borders needed to be defended. The empire needed infrastructure, roads, aqueducts, grain shipments. And Rome, rather than cutting spending or raising taxes honestly, chose a different path. They began clipping coins, shaving silver from the edges, gradually reducing the silver content of the denarius. Under Augustus, the denarius was nearly 95% pure silver. By the reign of Gallienus, 300 years later, it was less than 5%. The currency had been debased by 95%. But here's the thing, it didn't collapse overnight. It never does. For decades, merchants noticed the debasement but kept trading. Prices crept up. Inflation slowly, then rapidly consumed the middle class. The stage 3 crisis arrived in the form of the 3rd century, a 50-year period of total political and economic collapse. 26 emperors in 50 years, hyperinflation, trade networks collapsing, cities emptying, the barbarian kingdoms at the borders, watching, waiting, accumulating power. Stage 4 arrived in 476 AD. The Western Roman Empire fell, and with it, the greatest wealth machine in ancient history redistributed its assets to those who had been positioned correctly. Those who held land, food production, and hard assets survived. Those who held denarii, they held worthless metal. Check,
It's like the dollar,
verified, undeniable.
worthless paper.
Now jump forward to the 17th century, the Dutch Golden Age. This is one of the most fascinating wealth cycles in history because it happened so fast, and its lessons are almost perfectly applicable to today. The Dutch Republic was the Silicon Valley of 1600. It had the world's most sophisticated financial system. The Amsterdam Exchange Bank, founded in 1609, was the world's first central bank. The Dutch guilder was the global reserve currency. The Dutch East India Company, the VOC, was the world's first publicly traded corporation. And at its peak, it was worth...
The Dutch Indian Company. I hate to say it, but I pay attention to how y'all created that wealth. That part of the story they never tell. You be looking for, okay, where were black people? Where was this going? You know we were in our lands. Natural commodity wealth producing lands that they get these commodities from. Like, what the fuck were we doing? They don't speak about you know what was going on. Something wicked.
More in today's money than Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, and Google combined. We're talking about 25% of global trade flowing through a nation of less than two. Overextending. Competition from the British East India Company intensified. Military costs to protect Dutch trade routes ballooned. The Republic began borrowing. Not a little, massively. At one point, Dutch public debt was higher relative to GDP than almost any nation in history. They convinced themselves it was fine because Amsterdam was the financial center of the world. Creditors would always lend to them. The guilder would always be trusted. Then stage 3 hit. The Anglo-Dutch wars drained resources. The French under Louis XIV invaded, nearly destroying the Republic. The financial system strained under debt loads it couldn't service. The global financial center began migrating, slowly at first, then rapidly, and from Amsterdam to London. Stage 4 came in the early 1700s. The British pound replaced the Dutch guilder as the world's reserve currency. The VOC collapsed, declared bankrupt in 1799. And the Dutch, once the wealthiest nation per capita on earth, became a secondary power almost overnight. The wealth didn't disappear, it moved to Britain. To those who saw the transition, check, verified, undeniable. One more, the most important one, because this one is the direct ancestor of where we are right now. The British pound, the 19th century, the Pax Britannica. Britain was so dominant that at its peak, the British Empire controlled 24% of the world's land surface and approximately the same share of global GDP. The pound sterling was not just a currency, it was the foundation of the entire global financial system. Every major trade deal, every sovereign debt issuance, every commodity contract was denominated in British pounds. The City of London was the world's undisputed financial capital. Stage 1, complete and absolute. Stage 2 unfolded through the late 1800s and early 1900s. Britain began running trade deficits. Its industrial base, which had been the envy of the world, was being rapidly caught and overtaken by Germany, by the United States. Rather than adapting aggressively, Britain doubled down on financial engineering and imperial expansion. Then came the First World War. Britain spent so catastrophically that it went from being the world's largest creditor nation to the world's largest debtor in 4 years. It liquidated enormous portions of its overseas investments. It borrowed massively from, wait for it, the United States. Stage 3 arrived in the interwar period. The pound was desperately, unsuccessfully maintained at pre-war parity to gold. John Maynard Keynes himself publicly called it a disaster. Deflation crushed the British economy through the 1920s while America boomed. The Great Depression finished the job. Britain abandoned the gold standard in 1931. The pound began its long, irreversible slide. Stage 4 was formalized at Bretton Woods in 1944. In a hotel in New Hampshire, the leaders of the post-war world met and established a new global monetary order with the US dollar at its center. The pound was officially ceremonially dethroned, and the wealth that had been issued, check, verified, undeniable. 4 stages every single time. The only variable was the timeline. The outcome was always identical. Now, are you ready to see where we are today? Because here is where this becomes personally urgent. Here is where the pattern stops being history and starts being your financial future.
Results that speak for themselves.
Go to work.
Find out
Peace and
why
blessings,
at
family.
Super.com.
Peace and blessings.
They had this idea